All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Back Catalog Listening Party. My name is Mother Banjo, one of your hosts.
My name is Anthony Ihrig, the other host.
And today we have joining us from Troy, New York, Chuck and Mira of the duo The Sea. Yay!
Hi!
Happy Friday.
Right. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
And looks like Chris has joined the party early from St. Cloud, Minnesota. He said, they're there for the Bonnie Raitt show. Nice. Sipping a Kona Big Wave Golden Ale. Connie from Richfield. And I'm not too far away in a sunny Bloomington, Minnesota, from a Hilton. I've moved up from last week's Quality Inn in Wisconsin up to a Hilton.
I think Ellen's in the doghouse and just going from hotel to hotel.
Floating from hotel to hotel.
Our friend
the
Joe
gigging life.
is enjoying a Summit Saga, a nice Minnesota beer there. Hey, Joe. And Alan, well, grab the martini of your choice and enjoy it. Yeah, right. Alan, is that what you're doing?
Right. Yeah, I guess so. And then Beth from Cape Cod and Matt, our good friend from Urbana, and Alex having a G&T, and that's what I'm doing. I'm not at Cedar Lake, as we've established, but I am enjoying a nice gin and tonic on this kind of perfect summer day here in Minneapolis. The heat has passed through us. We've already had plenty of heat, but it's gone, I think, to you guys, Chuck and Mira.
Yep, it's here again. We missed it these last couple of days when it was here before.
Well, if what we have now gets to you, you're going to be loving it.
You're going to like it.
It really is perfect right now.
Amazing.
Yeah. So are you guys drinking anything to cool off on your Friday afternoon?
Nice. Cool. This is a Juice Bomb IPA.
Nice.
Sounds
refreshing. And Tony, what are you drinking today?
I'm just going back to the box of white wine that was in my fridge. I just got back from vacation and there wasn't much left, but there was the trusty box of white wine, and it's cool and delicious here.
Wonderful.
Looks like Dave's having a surly Furious in Andover.
All right.
Nice.
All right. Well, cheers, everybody.
Yep.
I forget where the camera is on this. Okay. And welcome to the Back Catalog Listening Party. If you're new to the show, this is where we invite different artists on to revisit old records. And we listen to tracks, we talk about the songs, and we want you to participate. So again, if you haven't already, you can tell us where you're tuned in from, if you're having a drink, and what you're thinking of the music. And if you have any questions for Chuck and Mira, or any of us really, probably about the music, but we'll try and answer any questions we have about the universe and all the stuff happening in the world. But we're really excited to have Chuck and Mira here today. And I've known these guys for a long time, but for folks who might not be as familiar with your music, maybe you could give the brief, 2-minute bio of maybe how each of you came to be doing music, and particularly together, and what led up to this record.
Yeah, when Chuck and I met, he was a contestant at the Mountain Stage New Song contest and festival, and I was a stage manager. I come from a theater background, and so after I finished school, I reached out to Chuck, and because I loved him and his music, and I was like, hey, I want to make music, and he was just at a point where
I'd been touring solo for a few years, and I just really wasn't working as a career, and I was like, ready to kind of just take a different direction.
And you were hanging out by yourself a lot.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time in the car alone, which now is benefit of being in a duo with your wife. You don't have to do that as much. But so I was about to quit basically and do something else. Mira said, "I want to play music, and I'll do it with you if you want." And so we basically hit the ground running together. She was ready to quit her day job, and we just kind of started with Mira playing, like kind of singing backup for me, and then she writes a ton. So it was this interesting progression of her kind of getting more comfortable being,
talking on stage.
We have some really hilarious stories of us like trying to sound like we knew we were doing on stage. In terms between songs was harder than the songs, just trying to find some like banter, some like the groove. Anyway, so that's how it started, and it's coming on 10 years now that we've been playing together, and we live in upstate New York. We've kind of bounced around the country a bit, but this is our home base here, and we've made, I don't even know, like 4
I would
records.
say the record we're talking about today is our third full length. We also made an EP, and then we've made some more EPs this year that we'll talk about some more too. But yeah, and you'll hear what our music is like, but it's a lot of harmony based songs. We like to say lyric driven, simple and true, indie folk pop. So yeah.
Nice.
Excellent. Wonderful. Well, I would say so. I'm really excited for folks to hear your music, and this record in particular, which I've enjoyed quite a bit, came out in 2020. So I'm sure we're going to talk more about what shaped this album coming out during the pandemic. But let's give folks a little taste of what your music sounds like. The first track you picked to feature on today's show is 1,000 Years. Is there anything you want to say about it before we take a listen?
Just that this song came out of a songwriting retreat that we did in late 2019 out near the Texas-Mexico border. And so there was a lot of inspiration drawn from the incredible stillness that one finds when they turn all of their technical devices off and just stare into the sky and into the stillness for a while.
All right, well, let's give it a listen. This is The Sea, 1,000 Years here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
We've been waiting, putting all our pennies in a jar, and we've been hoping that we'd be exactly where we are. We've been here, been out there, paying every due and every fine. We find ourselves out where it's still been this quiet every night for 1,000 years. We could stay here till it's like we've disappeared, but we are here, we are listening. We've been wandering, tying all our keys to a kite. We've been laughing, walking with our flickering flashlights, inside, out wide. The top of every ladder that we climb, we find ourselves out where it's still been this quiet every night for 1,000 years. We could stay here till it's like we've disappeared, listening. Been this quiet every night for 1,000 years. We could stay here till it's like we've disappeared. We are here. We are here. We are listening.
Oh yeah, we were listening to
Nice.
that. That is the Sea, 1,000 Years from their 2020 release, Stumbling Home, which we are revisiting today with Chuck Amira of the Sea. And you mentioned that that tune was inspired by being unplugged and the outdoors. And I have to say that the kind of background sounds to me remind, being based in Minnesota, maybe we'll see if Anthony agrees with me, reminded me of the sound of like ice makes. You know how there's that sound
Oh,
that
yeah.
you kind of can't describe. And then also when the drums picked up, it's reminding me of like boots stomping through the snow. So for me, it felt kind of wintry. I don't know.
I was hearing, like, I heard there's maybe just these little subtle bits of electric guitar or something that I was hearing, maybe like coyotes. I was already in that space of the Southwest kind of state of mind, and but anyways, very evocative and very, very visual.
Thank you.
That's
I can't help but think of that, sort of like you're saying, the coyote sort of landscape, just because that's where the song sort of originated. And I think a lot about, there were some really magical night skies, but also sunsets and mountain range sort of views that those sounds always feel sort of expansive to me, like you get when you're sort of gazing out into a desert or snow. I'm down.
Well, yeah, the plains, you know? Yeah,
That's
I was
Minnesota
just thinking
desert, right?
Yeah, exactly. The plains in the winter are very much like that. Well, Joe pointed out that the long break was great. It gives a background to ponder all of the images you present. And I would agree with that. One thing I like about a lot of your music, and definitely exemplified in that track, is the space.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you two aren't afraid to have space, which is, you know, not true with every artist. Even a lot of acoustic musicians like to fill it up with lots of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
especially on the record.
Yeah, exactly. Because this is your chance, right, to bring in all your studio musicians. But you did make this, of course, during the pandemic. Did that affect your artistic choices, or do you think this song would have been recorded the same way if it had been at a different time?
It's interesting because, and I'm glad that you said that, because giving more space to our songs, particularly on the recordings, is something we've been working on and trying to be conscious of. And it's interesting because we kind of had a different plan for how we were maybe going to approach some of this album. The essential idea was, so this was the first record that we engineered mostly ourselves, and it was with the intention of just sort of learning how to demo songs in a more articulated way.
And we had started some of that just before
the
pandemic. It was like right at the end of 2019, but it was they were very much in demo form at that time.
Yeah, so we took the recordings, and I think there were maybe double the amount of songs that are actually on the record, and we sent them out to a few friends and previous collaborators, including Todd Sikafus, who ended up co-producing this record with us. And Todd in like true Todd fashion, sent us back like all of the songs that he thought would make an awesome collection in like in an order already. Like this is what I heard, and I don't know, I forget if he like it was almost intentional, but we were like, this is absolutely like the vision of the collection of songs that we were hoping for, and I think had the pandemic not happened, we probably would have been in a room together,
that's what I was going to say,
filling in some of the spaces.
We started talking to him in February of 2020, and we were like, let's do this thing. And then like 3 weeks later, we were going to go out. He lives on the West Coast. We were going to go out. The plan was go out and make it together in a room, redo a lot of it, and then just add things together. And then, of course, it was like, okay, no, we're going to do this remotely. So, which was the cool, like to your point, Ellen.
In our closet.
Yes. We, this whole record was shaped by that because we ended up using so many of the tracks that we had done in the closet like that. And I think it added a lot to, there was just like a vibiness, in this space that we just created, kind of just because it was here.
Which is something we were looking for. Like we love studio recordings. Sometimes there's like something can be a little bit sterile about a space that you don't have a connection to. So we wanted there to be a sense of the room in these recordings. And when we talked to Todd, our goal was, let's see how we can be as in the room together as we can on completely different coasts. And so that became the challenge of the album, was let's try to recreate that in some way and use what's here and just sort of refine and draw inspiration.
Which is now sort of how everybody's making every record.
For those who are just listening, we did have a shot of Mira in the closet. I'm assuming that's at your home.
Well, so our studio, which is the space we're in now, is it is just a room, a couple of rooms, but this is here in the studio, and we're using the closet as a vocal booth. Yeah.
It's evolved a bit since then, but yeah, that was. And it's like a building from the early 1900s. And so we've got a lot of tall ceilings and large closets that are big enough for record boothing.
Yeah. Well, I think I really think that's interesting that you set out from your initial conversations with the producer to try to create space and try to create a connection between you and him. Because listening back to it, you wouldn't have guessed that you were in that closet, that you were just, so that's another kind of really cool thing to kind of listen for folks who are tuning in as we listen to more tracks.
And by the way, it sounds great. Like when I first heard this record, before I knew anything about it, I just thought, wow, how did they get into a studio during this time?
Yes.
And because it just sounds so professional. Like you would not have any idea this wasn't like the first time you recorded your own stuff.
Means a lot. Thank you. It's funny. I mean, I don't want to take away at all from the record at all, but it was, again, like the first kind of round of recordings we've ever done. And now since then, it's been 2 years plus of like, we've spent so much time in here. We've like gotten so much more gear. And I really think the things we're making now sound like much, I wouldn't say
just
better,
the raw form of what,
Again, it's very vibey, that record, for that.
Yeah.
Since like we were talking before we came on,
and Todd ran it through all
Todd,
of his filter and refinements and everything,
and the mastering process. But we were talking earlier about the fact that the mic in that picture was the mic we pretty much used to record the entire record because we didn't have any others.
For those who are watching here, it's the Shure KSM 32. I think a very underrated mic. I'm always telling folks it can do a lot. It's really versatile. And here's an album now I can point to. I was like, just listen to that record.
And there are tracks that are recorded and engineered also from Todd's studio and in Oregon, and also Matthias Kunzli is recorded from his home studio. I believe it's either in Northern California, and that was cool that we were all like recording from our home studios. So there was this sort of like virtual in the room vibe.
And one last little, I hope this doesn't demystify the song, but that one and a few other songs, Todd was like, we need like like exactly to the way you guys were describing the way it felt visually when you were listening. He's just like, I don't know, just walk around town and just record some sounds, things that are
I
interesting
forgot
to you.
about this.
So we got this little Rode mic, that we use for like podcasting or whatever.
Yeah.
And you had to plug it into your iPhone. And walked around town and just started recording like the wind like blowing on a piece of metal that was hitting against a fence, and we recorded like 30 of those things and just uploaded them to Dropbox for Todd, and he ended up there's a few of them in that break in the middle especially that were just like really random noises, and some of them he ran through crazy things, and other times it was just kind of raw, but
we also accidentally recorded someone's argument when we were walking by, and Todd was like, "Man, that was a heated argument someone was having." We forgot to delete it from the file. It was pretty funny.
Well, I feel like that would be on maybe a different kind of record.
That's the kind of like production secrets that we just love here. Thank you for sharing that, Chuck, because I think, again, when we go back for a second, third listen, especially folks who are new to this music now, there's these other little things that you can be listening for.
Yeah, for sure. And it looks like Joni was also noticing the Texas stillness on that song. And she said that on the Miranda Lambert et al. Album, that trio found that stillness helped their songwriting. Did you also find that to be the case? Obviously, one song came out of it, we know, but
the first song on the record also came from that time. And I really believe that songwriting retreat, our friend Johann Wagner runs it. And I think we came back so inspired from that it really has sort of set us in motion in the couple of years since. We came back sort of solidified in this idea that we want to find that headspace as a daily and a weekly practice. So absolutely.
It was like jet fuel in the creative tanks.
That's really cool. Well, we are going to hear another song from this record that you chose, and it's one that I really love called Parachute. Is there anything you want to say about this before we take a listen?
I will say that this is the first song that we recorded out of all of them, and it was intended to be a demo. And it was like, or should I say before or after?
It's up to you.
Well,
I just wanted you to think about it.
I'm going to think about it. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you that it was recorded. It was recorded. Well, it was recorded like very soon after it was written, and there's an in the room quality of this record or of this song in particular. So I'll say pay attention to any atmospheric noises that you hear, and then we'll discuss them after.
We'll have a quiz afterwards.
Awesome.
See if people can identify them.
Active listening, folks. This is the C Parachute on the back catalog listening party.
Red, green, yellow, blue, underneath the parachute. I don't wanna wait. I don't wanna wait too long. Red, blue, yellow, green. I wanna know what it means if I start to stay. If I start to stay too long. My heart inflates like a balloon. Don't hold too tight, don't let go too soon. Blue, green, yellow, red. Saw your eyes as they saw, watch your lips as they said. The world is on fire. It flickers like a movie screen. The world is on fire.
All right. The sea. What are those birds I'm hearing in the
Those are
background?
birds.
All right. Was that the correct answer?
Yeah, and I think you can hear maybe a car drive by because we recorded that in our living room. That was the only one not recorded in our studio. And the window was open because we were just intending it to sort of be a capture of the idea. And then it sort of, everyone was like, I don't think we should re-record this one. We should just keep it in the room. So
Yeah. Well, it's beautiful. It has this dreamy quality, and all I could think of was it did really remind me of being a kid and being underneath that huge parachute in gym class, and it always felt like, oh, I'm in this magical bubble of color, and I don't know, to me it really brought back all those feelings. And I recently saw someone post on Twitter how it was an adult who said, I just had dreams of buying one of those parachutes, and I did.
Oh, no way.
And she posted a photo of it, and I was like, yeah, why don't we do that now? I think we'd all be a lot happier if we all just, like, 20 of us got under a parachute, you know?
Well, it's funny because we were talking about stillness before, and I think that song came out of trying to remember moments in life, like when you feel totally still or just this like quiet in the middle of the calm. And there was always something about, I think you could think of that song. That's the image that I drew from, but you could also think of it as like floating down in the sky in a parachute or something. But I always remembered those moments of like being under the parachute, and then all of a sudden everyone would run to the other side, and it was like this moment of stillness in the middle of the craziness. And during the pandemic, I would listen to that song 3 times in a row, and that was like my 10-minute meditation.
I
Beth
love
also
that.
found it very centering, she says. Yeah,
Thanks,
that's
Kat.
good.
Hey.
Yeah, and Joni said the car sounded like ocean waves, which is
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
cool. Yeah. And my mom commented incredible harmonies, very true.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, really, really beautiful, beautiful tune. And is this the song that you did?
We did the
Did a video for this one, yes.
yeah.
Video for as well? Is this?
Yeah, so we, I think it was, I'm trying to remember at what point in the pandemic this was, but it was
It was pretty early on.
Early on, and we knew the record came out in August of 2020.
This was our first single, I think.
Oh,
too.
and the single, right? So yeah, we wanted some content. We couldn't go out and record a video, so I decided to cut up some newspaper, or no, it was like from a book. I just cut letters out and did a lyric video, stop animation. It took so many hours, and I was so grateful to have those hours filled, because I think it was the first month that we were home, and it was the first time we weren't, gigging in a long time, and I was just like, man, I need this, and so anyway, we have that. That was the process. I think I did it all on an iPhone, and by hand. I think I learned since then there are a lot easier ways to do it, and it probably looks pretty similar. But
my favorite though was while Chuck was doing this, he was like watching Parks and Rec, and there's a moment where one of the characters is talking about a stop motion animation that he made, and he's like talking about how
the way I remember it is that they show him like kind of, he's like not working at the time, and he's like kind of been like holed up in his house for a week, and he's like, dude, his friend comes over and he's like, you gotta see what I made, come see what I made.
I spend all week working on this,
and it's like 4 seconds long.
Yeah.
It's because it takes that long.
And I think Chuck started like crying. He was like, so relatable.
Well, for folks who are just listening, we're looking right now at some images, some still shots from that, including this epic array of letters that are sitting on a mat. And assuming that for those of you who are unfamiliar with stop motion, I'm thinking you're putting something together, you're taking one picture, you move something a millimeter, you take another picture,
exactly. In the video, it's just all the letters kind of float up and form the words of the song. So I'm like literally moving every letter, to come together, and then they all like explode. Like, and as it was, the beginning, it was just to get them to come in and be on screen was cool. And then I was like, all right, this is getting boring. So I had to make them sort of like have more motion, and that's obviously a lot more work. So yeah, it was pretty intense.
I'm playing a little video of it now, so if you're not watching, you can peek to see
flashbacks.
Oh no,
a little trauma. How long can I ask? Like what from front to back? Do you remember how many hours you put into this?
I don't, but I do know that I feel like it took a week of my life, like an entire week of my life was focused on this. I can't tell you exactly how many hours per day I did it, but it was a lot.
And I remember now this idea too came from when we were at that writing retreat. One of the sort of techniques and writing games you play is cutting out words and as inspiration and sort of creating almost like magnetic poetry from cutting out words. And so I think that was on the brain too as an idea.
Well, I guess Ruby somebody noticed Ruby.
Yeah, Alan noticed, and I was noticing at first she was sitting like right in between you guys, like she was there for a portrait, like on alert. But then she got bored with us and left.
She laid down.
Well, she doesn't have headphones, so she doesn't know all the wonderful conversation and music that we're all getting to hear. But if you just tuned into Back Catalog Listening Party, we're talking with Chuck and Mira of the Sea, revisiting their record Stumbling Home, which came out in 2020. Hence all the stop animation videos and activities, because, they were not
Closet
touring. They were at home like the rest of us. Exactly. And if folks want to get a physical copy of this record, they have it on vinyl and CD at their website, thesea.com. So you can check it out there. And I will say, again, as you've already been hearing as we listen to tracks, but even more so if you're listening to the high-res files as we are and on nice headphones, you want to have this record, especially in the physical format. I don't have the record, but I need to buy it, so I need to get on that.
Well, and I got to say, all these little details, right? So normally you think, put on the nice headphones so you can hear, the acoustics of the room and all of the $10,000 microphones and stuff. But I mean, we get to hear birds outside their window, and we get to hear the air conditioning running or whatever it is, But like that, I mean, it really adds to it, and boy, does that also just put a kind of a timestamp too at this crazy time that this record was created. So
yeah. And Mike says a truly great album, and Beth says she has to go and get the vinyl. That's right, Beth. So we put the link in the comments so folks can click on that if they want to get a copy. And right now we're going to have another song because that's what this show is all about. It's about listening to music together. This is Rainstorm. Is there anything you want to say about it?
How about After?
Okay, sounds good.
All right. We're going to give it a listen. This is the Sea, Rainstorm here on the Back Catalog Listening Party.
We were hungry like children, and you knew me so well. I was lost in you then, I'm lost in you still. Blow me a dark cloud, light a cigarette. We try to remember, we try to forget. It feels like a rainstorm. salt on our skin. Summer won't come without leaving again. Don't we go driving? We don't have to go far. Roll down the windows and I get a wake up. Feels like a rainstorm. Thunder roar. Feels like a rainstorm. Thunder roar.
The Sea to Sea with Rainstorm from their 2020 album Stumbling Home, which we are revisiting today on the Back Catalog Listening Party with Chuck and Mira from the Sea to Sea. And yeah, beautiful song.
Whoa.
Oh, we
I'm going to see if I can anticipate what Ellen was going to say here. Certainly, you know, I have no idea what she was going to say. So, well, I'll just say that. Oh, well, she's back already.
So fast.
Nice recovery.
I couldn't guess what you were going to say, Ellen. I tried, and then
Good.
What was it?
I was just going to say, sort of like 1,000 years. Like I had this very evocative, like it was very cinematic, is what I was going to say. I could really feel like I was in there, and so I don't know if that was what you were going to say, Tony,
No.
or not.
No. I was trying to guess what you were going to say. But one thing I wanted to ask you about after listening to that, is you did mention that some of these parts were recorded elsewhere, and I'm curious, like how much of, like, you know, there's a little percussion and some bass and things that are happening. Is that you guys, or are there other folks kind of participating in this?
It's all over the place.
Yeah, a lot of it. There's definitely, we did a bunch of the basic tracks, but I was just every time we listen to that track, I always just like completely fall in love with whatever upright bass or bass part in general that Todd plays. So he played an upright bass part on that, and the piano,
Yeah, the piano as well.
and then we had a percussion part that I think Matthias went in and made it sound. He like re-recorded a version, because he one of the cool things about Matthias is like he has all of these like percussion instruments that he sort of makes, and
cool.
Todd always loves sounds that are like you can't quite put your finger on them sometimes, and Matthias is an expert at those things. So he used some really cool stuff to recreate
And
that.
it's a mix.
Yeah.
There's some original
Yeah.
percussion from this room too. So
Yeah.
that one was like a big mix.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, you'd think you were all in the same room, because you know, it really sounds cohesive, I guess. And I think that's interesting that he specifically likes these kind of found sounds, you know, that aren't necessarily an instrument per se. You know, it kind of adds to the organic feel of it. We got another question here about the name. Joe was wondering about the name, the Sea.
Yeah.
That's a book, correct?
Yeah, actually so there's a book by Iris Murdoch called The Sea, and that's where I first heard it and thought that would be a cool band name. But it's a really dark story, and and when I had kind of thought of it before Mira and I got together, but then when we got together and we were looking for names, we thought we needed we liked the name, but didn't want it to have that sort of kind of as its the namesake, because it just didn't fit us. So we kind of dug deeper, and it's a quote. There's actually an ancient story from Greece, like 400 BC, and it's like really beautiful story of these, like it was like these soldiers coming back home from battle to their home on the ocean, and when they knew they had survived, they cried, the sea. So it's like a cry of joy.
Nice.
And when we first actually started using the name, we added the sea with an exclamation point at the end, and then we realized when it was typed and small enough, it looked like the seal. And so we had to take that away to keep the confusion out.
A 21st century consideration for sure.
Yeah.
I also saw somebody asked about the cover art, and that cover art is by Kristen Meyer, who has this incredible design company called Salvage Design, and she, like, we just are in love with her design work, and these are all actual keys and things that she found.
Wow.
And sort of pieces together in a mosaic. She has there's you should check her out on Instagram.
Yeah.
She's got a lot of other pieces that are mosaics of different materials. And then
what was her name again?
Her name's Kristen Meyer.
Okay. We'll link to that in the show notes. I want to make sure I captured that for folks.
Oh, yeah.
Who are just
I
listening.
might be able, I don't know if it's too late, but I might be able to drop, no, I can't. It's all good. I was going to say I could drop a photo. But what's really amazing, like Mira said on her Instagram, she's like, I don't know if you know Andy Goldsworthy, but he's like a nature artist, kind of makes art out of nature. She just collects things, and if you go to her page, you'll see that they all look like this cover, but made out of all these different things. And it's just, her style is just very unique. And
that's so cool. And what a cool thread with the percussion instruments you were just talking about too. It seems like there's a theme emerging here.
It's true.
Yeah.
And we liked too the idea of, since it's called Stumbling Home, just this particular piece that we saw of hers with just all of the keys and things. We liked this idea of all the different ways we find our way home, and all the different things that looks like. So sort of different keys for different kinds of doors that we might be opening.
And was with this song, I know there's a song with the same name and the album cover, was that conceived kind of during the pandemic too? Because that also might have a different kind of connotation.
I think that song came about sort of pre-pandemic. It was like end of 2019, but that song in particular, I know we'll probably talk about that here in a bit. But it came from, we were living in the country and we moved into downtown Troy, New York. So a lot of the imagery in our songs went from like nature to all of a sudden seeing people and buildings. And we live on a higher floor, and not that we're like being creepy people watching, but you can't help but by like being at your window at night and just seeing people walk by. And there was just a lot of, you can start to create stories just by like watching all of the different things that and people who are passing by. So that's sort of where that song started to come from, and then it turned into a metaphor for a lot of other things too.
Very cool.
Wonderful. And again, we do want to mention that in addition to buying this record, by the way, I got piped in just in time to say this, that in addition to buying the record, we do have a tip jar for Chuck and Mira. And, they are starting to tour again. They are leaving the house, believe it or not. And they're touring all over the place. And Minnesota folks, I know we have a bunch of regular listeners who live in our neck of the woods in Minnesota. They are playing Story Hill Fest, hosted by our good friend Story Hill, and featuring a whole bunch of past guests on the show, including I know Edie Carey's on the bill, who's been a guest here on Back Catalog as well as Story Hill. So you can check that out. The festival, storyhillfest.com. That's August 12th through the 14th in Deerwood, Minnesota. But you can check out all their tour dates at thec.com. But again, they have to fuel up that car.
Yeah,
so throw some money in that tip jar to help them do that. And I think we have time for one more song. So why don't we do the song we were just talking about, the title track, Stumbling Home. Is there anything else you want to say about it? I know we just sort of talked a little bit about it.
Well, I was saying that, it started with this sort of image of a couple of people walking down the street. But right after we finished writing it, we found this Ram Dass quote that is, we're all walking each other home. And or aren't we all just walking each other home? And that felt like exactly what we were writing about in this song, the many ways that we all walk through life together and trip along the way, and
somebody to help you stay on
your
feet.
And the ways we help each other stay on our feet and make it through. So that also felt like a really appropriate sentiment for pandemic times. Helpful reminder.
Absolutely. That's kind of where this show started. So very appropriate way to finish this show. We're going to give Stumbling Home a listen. This is the C The Sea from the back catalog listening party.
Oh, the fire is burning, the flames they grow tall. Down the avenue, they're calling last call. And it's almost as if we knew nothing at all. If we do, we don't remember. But we glow like stubborn embers stumbling home. I don't mean to glamorize, it's just how it feels to feel alive. And all the things we've seen with our own eyes, suddenly in a different light. You're not the one I'm trying to fight, I'm taking you home.
All right, The Sea with Stumbling Home, the title track to their 2020 release, which we have been revisiting today with Chuck and Mira from The Sea, joining us from their home studio in Troy, New York, and Tony and I piping in from the Twin Cities in Minnesota. And that song really does for me bring back all those pandemic thoughts, but in a beautiful, comforting way. And I think that's what I love about that song is it reminded me of the nicer parts, right? Of finding our way back home. And if you're a touring musician, you don't have as much time at home. So
And you had to get really creative during that time to
mhm.
kind of find, people and community and
Yeah.
home. And if I remember from earlier in the conversation, you had to get kind of creative with your CD release party for this. Well, how
Yeah.
did you end up doing this back in 2020?
Well, we thought a lot about it because we were doing a lot of live streaming. We really got into it right away and started like upping our game with that and like getting better visual, better sound. And so we had at the point we released the album, we had done a lot of live streams. So we thought, how can we make this not in person but better than what we've done? And so we thought we have this great crew of guys who live here in town. They're called Chromoscope is their company. We call them the Chromies. And we worked with them a bunch before the pandemic, and we thought, man, if we could get one or two of you guys over here and film us on the roof, it would be really cool. So we did. We did an entire concert on the roof, and we ended up not doing it. We live streamed it, but we recorded it live, but we didn't stream it live just so we wouldn't have any technical issues. That was a little above our technical skill at that time. But
and we were still at that point very limited in how many people could be around at one time.
Yeah,
and
so
we needed an open air
Mhm.
place to sort of do it too.
Yeah, so that is taken from literally right above our heads here.
That's gorgeous.
Yeah, Troy is a really beautiful town, and a lot of Victorian architecture and stuff. But anyway, it was a gorgeous concert, and you can see clips of it on our YouTube page that are up there. You can see the whole show if you do become a patron. There's the full show in like the backlog of our Patreon.
I saw
posts.
someone ask too about live streaming, and there are definitely some shows where we're playing at venues where there are live streams available, but we sort of, just to move a bunch of things into one place, we started a Patreon during the pandemic too, and that's patreon.com/thec, and we do monthly live streams there. We're releasing a bunch of music there that's not available on other platforms. So we actually just surprise released a third EP for the year. We're doing 4 total this year of songs that you can only get there, and we do like a live stream release show for each of those. If you're, depending on what tier you're a part of, we do Q&As. There are actually podcasts that we've done about some of the songs that we're talking about today that are up there. And yeah, the whole rooftop performance is available too.
And there are a few shows here and there that we've been doing in venues that are live streaming as well. So if you usually we'll mention that on our site. I think I don't think any of the upcoming ones but somebody actually I noticed Joe asked about Cafe Lena.
Mhm.
And yes, we do play. We live 20 minutes from Cafe Lena.
That was our first show this year. We actually played 2 shows because there was a snowstorm. Of course, we had like our first show back from the pandemic, and there was a snowstorm. So we had 2 shows, turned into 2 shows. But there's one that we're about to announce on September 23rd that's going to be here in Troy.
Mm.
And we have a really exciting collaboration with some of the folks who are presenting, but it'll be with our really good friend Josiah Johnson, who is one of the founding members of the Head and the Heart, and who's doing beautiful solo work now, and we're going to do a few shows with him in September. So we'll be mark your calendar, September 23rd, and we're probably going to announce that one next week.
Wonderful. That's great. And if you, again, sign up for that Patreon, you'll definitely know all the news and get all the new music and performances. But certainly you can also follow the C on the social places and go to their website for their tour dates as well. And get the album we've been talking about today, Stumbling Home, available on vinyl and CD. And this has been so much fun to revisit this record with you and to see your faces. It's been too long.
Oh, so good to see you.
I know Hal been an hour already.
I know.
I don't know. This is the best hour of every week, and we do say that every week because we mean it every week.
It absolutely
hour.
is, you know.
And you
So-
guys do an incredible job.
Yeah, this is so
awesome.
fun.
Yeah.
Well, if we have just a quick minute, I got a couple last-minute pictures here of more of that artwork from Kristen Meyer, is it?
Yeah, Kristen Meyer. And we love collaborating with artists. Another for the Stumbling Home song, you can find an oil painting animation by this incredible artist, Zachary Johnson, who we partnered with for our first record, Love We Already Love, and did a video for the song Waiting.
But you can see Kristen's really cool style there. It's like,
yeah.
And she doesn't just do circles, but she does a lot of circles. But
a lot of mosaic work. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. And and I love the tie-in with kind of the found sounds of this record, and I can't wait to check out that oil painting animation as well. There's so much. I wish we had another hour.
And that's what Joni just said. She said Amazing Group could listen to another 3 hours. Well,
but that is where you go buy the record. You can go to their website, pick up the record, definitely join their Patreon, because it sounds like there's tons of perks, including EPs that you can only get on Patreon. That is very exclusive, and more of the live streams that you love, and it sounds like podcasts that go behind the music, kind of like what we're doing here. So definitely head on over to patreon.com/thec. Become a Patreon patron. Beth says totally worth it in all caps. It's so amazing all that you're able to share with us in this 1 hour, and there's just so much more to explore. So you can do that on their website. And through their
I would
Patreon.
say that this record really sparked a lot of things for us, and it's really fun to revisit it because since then we've been just writing constantly, recording constantly, and just I think it really sort of connected us with. I think as artists, we're always trying to make our art the center of what we do. And I think some of the stillness during the last couple of years really tried to connect with that. What does that look like when your art really is the center of what you do? And if you sort of trust that will make everything else will grow out of that. And so that's been our mission in a lot of ways for the last couple of years.
Wonderful. Well, it's paid off in big ways. This record is really beautiful, and folks can check it out. If you liked the episode, like it on YouTube, give the thumbs up, and so you can subscribe to our YouTube channel there to get notified of what's coming up in future weeks, and you can check out all our past episodes as well. And we want to thank our Patreon supporters who keep the show going even past the shutdown. We thought we'd be doing it a couple weeks, but here we are. How many episodes in? A lot.
Yes.
120.
Yeah, 120. Thank you. Penny, Ann, Alinda, Bevan, Connie, Vaughn, Alan, Chris, Alex, Becky, Galen, Peggy, Joe, Jim, Beverly, and John, Fred, Tim, Sarah, David, Jocelyn, Court, Matt, Steve, Mark, Homestead, Pick and Parlor, Severin, Lynn, Craig, Jake, Mary, Many Tracks, and Nikki, and maybe you. You can join our Patreon, and we have special after parties. We have online concerts with combinations of past guests and all kinds of good stuff. So you can check that out there. And thank you again, Chuck and Mira, for joining us. This has been so much fun. I wish we had more time.
I know.
I do too.
I'm sad we have to go.
I'll make sure to put, for those of you who are just listening or just caught it and want to watch the videos and some of the stuff we weren't able to get to, if you go to backcataloglisteningparty.com/120, you'll find links in the show notes to that. So
that's right. Well, I got to run to do a gig, but
all right.
here at the Hilton. Thanks so much, guys. Have a wonderful weekend.
See you, folks.
See you soon.
Thank you so much for being here. Cheers. We'll see you next week on the Back Catalog Listening Party.